Good evening, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Thank you for joining us for our 9-part series of our GP training for the certifying medical professionals, the doctors. This is part 2 with Amber Dunn from Jushi, previously known as Vireo. Amber can talk about all of that transition. So thank you
Absolutely.
so much for joining. I'll turn it over to Michelle, who will discuss and talk about the Apothecarium dispensaries.
Yep. Hi, hello, and welcome, everyone. I was going to say the same exact thing as Franmar and introduce Amber and Jushi, but Franmar beat me to it. So let me just move on to the next slide. Our program tonight is brought to you by the Apothecarium. And as you know, the Apothecarium is a full-service, award-winning dispensary. We have locations in Plymouth Meeting, Pennsylvania, Thorndale, and Lancaster. And we're really committed to providing our patients with education, empathy, and ongoing support. And what makes us different is that we're very medically focused as well as patient and physician focused. We really pride ourselves in offering education and training to both physicians and patients. And this is just a quote from our founder. You guys can read that right here. We really just aim to build a dispensary that you can be proud to bring your parents, your mother, your neighbor, your sister, your brother. So with that said, we were founded in San Francisco in 2011. We have 3 locations in Pennsylvania. We have 1 location in New Jersey, soon to open 2 others. And that's just really a little bit about us. So I will turn the presentation over now to Amber to share our screen and to talk to you about Jushi and their products.
Great. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Franmar. I greatly appreciate it. Let me get my screen up here quick. All right. So yes, as Michelle and Franmar introduced me, I am Amber Dunn. I'm the Pennsylvania Sales Manager for Pennsylvania Medical Solutions, also known as Jushi. I started with Vireo Health back in 2018, right in 2019. Prior to that, I was a dispensary agent, so I worked hand in hand with a lot of the patients that were coming in with their first time evaluations, kind of understanding the product line and what options were available to them. A lot of them were new, elderly, and just weren't familiar with the products. So that was one of my favorite tasks, I believe, at the dispensary, was being able to talk to patients and just kind of getting them the rundown of what we have available to them and making them feel at ease. I love what Apothecarium has in place at their dispensaries. You know, they really are focused on the patient's well-being and knowing that education comes first. Without that, you know, we wouldn't just have a slew of random dispensaries up here with patients just going crazy. So it's really nice to be able to partner with Apothecarium and other dispensaries here in Pennsylvania that do put the patients first. Getting into our products a little bit. So first, I want to introduce a little bit of our background at Pennsylvania Medical Solutions. We are, again, we were purchased by Jushi. We were previously owned by Vireo Health, which was a very physician-founded, physician-led company. So we did work with a lot of very strategic and very strict formulations. With that, Ryan Cook has put that into kind of fruition with Jushi. So we do still keep a very strict regimen of what our medicated line looks like. And we do want to make sure that our precise dosing is there for the patients. Andres Newman is our Chief Creative Director. So he definitely works with a lot more of the packaging and marketing, which is finding ways to make it easier for the patients to be able to read and understand each product that they purchase. And Dr. Laszlo Metzler is on our expert board. He is a professor of neurology and oncology. And I definitely go to him a lot for any kind of recommendations with it when I have a certain patient that's having an issue. So it's really nice to have a great team of people at Jushi and Pennsylvania Medical Solutions that I can rely on when I'm talking to any of the pharmacists, the dispensary agents, or also the patients. So getting into the first part of our products, I'm going to introduce the flower. Flower was introduced a little bit after the first launch of the dispensaries here in Pennsylvania. And we are able to use it in the state as vaporization only. So this flower is pretty much the same thing that you would see from any other dare or any other anti-drug thing that people kind of really look at it and like, we were told no for so long. So why is this exact same thing okay? The biggest thing I go with is showing them, research and going into depth about why things have changed over the years, the more and more that we learn out of it. So even though it might be the same plant that you were told at one point, no, stay away from, this is bad, there is a lot of research that comes up behind it. And at Jushi, we have the brand called The Bank. The Bank, we do focus on our genetics and our flower that of course all starts from a seed. We are all hydroponic grown. We're 100% LED lighting. Also, we use pure RO water, and we are 100% pesticide free. So we do fall in the lines with all the standards that Pennsylvania Department of Health mandates for us to have a grow here in Pennsylvania. But we also do have our own internal standards that are almost half of what the Department of Health wants. So if we get a harvest with product that may have high yeast and mold, microbials, cadmium, any of the sorts, we do have our own internal limits that we will not process that flower for finished flower that you would purchase to vaporize. We will then instead extract that, remove it, which will remove any of those issues, and have it tested again, and then that would go into a pill, oral solution, or a cartridge form. So some of the strains that we have with the bank are indicas and sativas. Pretty much everything in the now widely bred area of cannabis has been bred so much that it kind of becomes a hybrid. So we really do acknowledge that most of the products are hybrids, but they are sativa dominant or indica dominant, and it really does based on the terpenes of the products. Some of our indicas and sativa strains are listed here, but our bank has been expanding, so we do have more lines that are coming down the road soon. And they are all processed in 3.5 gram jars. We do make sure that all of our premium buds are manicured very nicely and cured for an extended period of time, which will give a better vaporization process for the patient. We have 3 different lines of bank, and it kind of just follows with the THC potency. This will definitely help the patients that know their limits of where they need to be at for cannabinoid therapy. So our black box is considered the bank gold. That's anything under 20% THC. THCA is what you, the acid of that, which you need to then decarbolize. So if you're using a vaporizer, that's going to automatically do it for you. But using that kind of flour, some people would want to grind it up and then bake with it. We do have to understand that you do have to decarb it first to use that. And this is this line helps them doing that. So our gold standard one will be anything under 20%. That's going to be a little bit lower range for some patients that just need a little bit of that relief throughout the day. And some people have a lower tolerance, so that's really what they rely on, is anything under 20%. We have then the growing part of Pennsylvania seems to be going more for the 20 to 25% of THC. That is definitely going to help out with a little bit more pain relief at night. Patients do seem to want a little bit more of that higher THC product, depending again on their tolerance. And then our vault is our high tier 1. That's anything over 25% potency. And we do also have limited release strains that come out with that one. One thing that, is always something people are concerned about was vapes at one point. We did go through a period of time where there was a big concern in the market for anybody who is vaporizing oils, whether it was nicotine, cannabis, or any of the such. And in this case, we make sure that our science behind of everything is going to always make sure that patients are going to be first notch. Their safety is always concerned. So with the lab, we do formulate from our high quality precision vape products. We are going to eventually start launching concentrates here in Pennsylvania, but as of right now, we only do a 510 thread vape cartridge that goes onto a battery, and that's how a patient can inhale from these products. Eventually, we will, like I said, go down the line and do concentrates, but all of our products right now are CO2 extracted. So after our extraction process, it goes through a fractional distillation. And then after that, we will combine just the cannabinoids that are left over after that fractional distillation with about 6% terpenes. All of our terpenes are made here in America, and they are strain specific. So if a patient knows that Granddaddy Purps is a strain that's worked for them before, we will use the same exact terpenes that are pulled from the botanical plants. And then those will be introduced into the cartridge to give it that strain name. It is a very easy method to use. It's one of the most, to my opinion, at least, easier on yourself to inhale. Distillates seem to have a little bit more flavoring to them when you add in those terpenes. So some patients that kind of work better with a fruit flavored or a florally flavored instead of more of the cannabis taste, they will definitely find a better selection when you look at the distillates. These are some of the strains that we have available right now. These strains, again, are going to change in the future. We are starting to look into doing more of a CO2 extraction only, where we're not going to do a distillation. This process is more so for maintaining those natural terpenes that occur in the cannabis plant. So when we take those terpenes out and extract those, we can add all that back in after the extraction process, and then you have more of a full spectrum product. After doing the CO2 cartridges that we'll have, we will eventually go over to our live resin that will be available in our cartridges and then concentrate form as well. And that we are still waiting on Department of Health regulatory approval. So once all that is said and done, we're looking to launch at the end of summer 2021. Nira is actually a company that Jushi owns as a hemp-derived product. So here in Pennsylvania, we can't sell hemp-derived products at our dispensaries. We have to have the cannabis and THC, CBD combo in that. So we created Nira Plus Medicinals. Nira Plus is a product line that started kind of at Vireo, and we changed that around to kind of work more with the Jushi culture of it. So all of our product line in Nira is only made with extracted cannabinoids from our plants grown in-house, and then MCT oil. There's no added terpenes, there's no additional flavoring added. So it is very versatile for all different types of patients. All of our products, again, without having those terpenes in there, a patient can use it daytime, nighttime, midday, and they also have the ability to titrate different product or different levels depending on their usage. So our 3 SKUs with the oral solutions of Nira Plus is our THC formulation. That comes in a 12.5 milliliter bottle. And we recommend the starting dose at 0.25 milliliters. That gives you about 6 milligrams of THC per dose. And if you use just the 0.25, you are getting 50 total doses per bottle. The next one in the middle there is our extra strength formulation. That is 600 total milligrams of THC in the 12.5 milliliter bottle. That would be 12 milligrams per dose on a 0.25 milliliter dosing. And again, 50 doses per bottle on that. And then our balanced formulation is half THC and half CBD, a total of 300 milligrams per bottle. It would one dosing of 0.25 milliliters would be 3 milligrams THC and 3 milligrams CBD. And again, that one also has 50 total doses per bottle. The THC formulation and the balanced formulation both retail at $50. So when you're looking at a price per milligram, it really is a very affordable one because of how concentrated it is. The oral solution, the extra strength one that has a total of 600 milligrams, that one is priced at $80. So that one, again, is going to be just in line with your lowest milligram per cost per milligram on the market right now. Nira Plus also has soft gels. Our soft gel formulation is very similar to what we use in our oral solutions. The only difference with that is that it is encased in a vegan gelatin capsule. They are about the size of a Tylenol liquid gel, kind of same texture to it as well. They are chewable, so patients can easily chew the product. The soft gel itself can be swallowed or just by itself, or adding it into a drink or anything. Some patients do, like myself, do enjoy chewing them, kind of getting that gush of the product out. But you know you have that solid dose without having to use a dropper. All of our Nera Plus products come in a 30-pack container. Our THC one is 150 milligrams of total THC. So each soft gel has 5 milligrams of THC. Our extra strength formulation has a total of 750 milligrams, and that would be 25 milligrams per soft gel. And then our balanced formulation has a combination of THC and CBD half and half. So you have 5 milligrams of THC and 5 milligrams in CBD. So each soft gel would be a 10 milligram dose. Those as well are about the same price. You're looking at $50 retail for your THC and your balanced formulation. And then for the extra strength formulation, that retails at $90. On the back of this list, this is more so just explanation. I use this a lot for patients and for bud tenders. So if a certain product is being searched for, whether it is based on your effect, on the strain type, or on your flavoring, or what kind of common use you have, we'll use that to kind of guide someone to know, do they want a sweet and earthy flavor to it? That's a sativa. Maybe is really good for chronic pain and PTSD. Then the Moby Dick is one that we would suggest. Plus, that's one of my ultimate favorite ones too. Really helps me out nighttime wise. I don't seem to get the effects that everybody does out of sativas versus indicas. So for me, I'm fortunate enough to use Moby Dick at night, and it actually really does help my anxiety with getting to sleep and any kind of night terrors. So on my end, that definitely is a good benefit. And that's, I think, a really challenging thing that a lot of us see in the market is that everybody's so different when it comes to finding what is the right strain, what is the right product. Because everybody's endocannabinoid system will process both of those on the CB1 and CB2 receptors, you're kind of finding a more of a trial and error. And with this, the nice thing with cannabis is we know it's safe. We know it has the ability, you're not going to overdose from taking a little bit too much, just maybe a really good nap afterwards. So I like to tell patients, keep a journal, make sure that you're like looking at when you're medicating, how long you're medicating for, what kind of effects you get. And if it's something you don't like, then you know to avoid maybe those certain terpenes or that certain amount of cannabinoids when you're looking for your next product to use until you find that right sweet spot. And then we also have pretty much the same thing for the lab vapes. Our vape cartridges, like I said before, are all CO2 extracted, but they are considered distillate. So adding in those certain terpenes are going to make the difference with each inhalation. Typically, if you're using just a CO2 formulation, because we are using a distillate with the added terpenes, you can always really reassure that you're going to get those same terpene effects every single time from our cartridges. So we try to stay very consistent with that. And this chart can kind of help the patients and the bud tenders along with figuring out which one would be best for them. And that's really what I have for my slideshow for today. But I do definitely have products that I can show. It's more so if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them based on anything. Also, I have a multitude of different devices here that you can use for your dry herb or for concentrates or also vape pens if anybody has any questions on those.
Awesome. And if anybody has any questions, you can certainly utilize the Q&A or the chat. We did have one, Amber, from Dr. Cindy, and she asked, are the tinctures and capsules more indica or sativa dominant?
So that's a great question. They are not either. We focus on cannabinoid therapy in that. So without having those terpenes, you're really not going to have a difference of indica versus sativa. You're more so looking at a dose of 12 milligrams of THC. What is that going to be too much for somebody to take during the day? For myself, I know I can do about 3 to 5 milligrams of THC throughout the day, not really have any kind of psychoactive effects, but still keep a nice mellow mood throughout. Then at night is where I go to more of a heavy dosing because they don't have terpenes in there. It kind of is nice for a patient to be able to use the same product twice throughout the day or multiple times throughout the day, depending on how much they use.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
You're
and
welcome.
Another physician, Dr. Harris, asked, are the Vireo products now discontinued?
They are, yes. Vireo, once they were sold from, once we were purchased by Jushi, we were only able to use the Vireo name until February. So that's why we launched all of our brand new products in January, February, and the Vireo name will not be able to be used in Pennsylvania anymore. But again, our products are very similar to what we were making. The only difference is there is we don't have as large of a SKU amount right now or any CBD products, but those are some that can potentially be down the line. Just a lot of construction going on in our facility right now.
Awesome.
Amber, I already know the answer to this, but I wanted to ask it for the doctors.
Sure.
Do your tincture products, are they flavored?
No, they're not flavored. No flavors or no added terpenes. It's just MCT oil and cannabinoids.
Awesome. Do you have any other questions, Fran Mar, that the pharmacists normally have when they go through these types of trainings that may, since we have
Well,
more time?
Dr. Harris just asked a question, and it just so happens that Amber did our staff training for our Pennsylvania dispensaries yesterday. So we asked what this question came up. I think I asked it, didn't I, Amber? Dr. Harris is asking, are there any plans for developing a higher CBD product, such as the Vireo Blue, the 1 to 6, for the pediatric patients? And I know I asked a very similar question about the Indigo, the 1 to 19 that they have high CBD. So Amber, I'll let you answer that.
Yes, absolutely. So I am actually a huge advocate for CBD. A little backstory myself is that I decided that pharmaceuticals were not the right choice for me back about 2.5 years ago. And all of these psych meds and everything else that I was on was really impeding on my ability to just have a good quality of life and be a good mother to my son. I was more a zombie. So I really did rely on CBD formulation right as I decided to stop all my benzos. Which of course we all know is not a good choice to do whatsoever, but it definitely helped with any of those withdrawal symptoms that I had. So I have been pushing for a high CBD product from day one. I want more and more of it made every day, but unfortunately it doesn't seem like that's something in our pipeline right now. If we do produce a CBD product, I know the first thing we were talking about was doing something similar to the blue, a 6-to-1 formulation. Possibly a 4-to-1. It's just going to vary right now. As I stated a little earlier, we're under a lot of construction in our facility to make it bigger and better than what it ever was. And until that ends kind of this fall, we're a little stuck with our limited line of products that we have, but we definitely are looking to use this expansion to broaden all of our products and hopefully get everything into the market that the patients are looking for.
And just to kind of piggyback off of this, and Amber, you can correct me if I misspeak at all. So the regulations state in Pennsylvania that the growers need to, if they want to use CBD, they need to grow it in-house.
Yeah.
They can't go and purchase third-party hemp from the hemp growers in Pennsylvania. So it all has to be grown in-house. So the problem happens when the facilities aren't big enough. They can't find all the room necessarily to grow the plants. The CBD plants take longer to grow than the THC ones, and you don't always necessarily get a great yield. So you put more time, energy, and effort into developing and growing these CBD plants, and then you still don't necessarily get the biggest bang for your buck in order to use it, which is why I think a lot of the GPs, including our own, sometimes struggle with producing enough CBD in order to kind of get the market of what we want when it comes to a CBD based type of product. I don't know, Amber, if you want to add anything to that, if I.
Framar, I don't think I could have said it any better. I mean, that's absolutely correct. Yeah, unfortunately, the regulations do prohibit us from using any hemp, even if it is grown here in Pennsylvania. So we are very limited to what we're able to use. In our grow space, the market does state, high THC is king in PA. A lot of people do really focus on those flowers. So with our expansion, one of the things that I am still pushing for is to have one whole room that is just our CBD room. And it could be a tiny little one. It could just hang out there for a little bit. But I do want to make sure that, like I said, our patients are being taken care of. So the CBD that we currently grow and process now is put into all of our balanced formulations. We also will have vape pens that are going to be a balanced formulation too. So any kind of CBD that's made right now is going into those. I'm hoping we have a little bit extra left over and I could just kind of push out and say, okay, let's get this 6-to-1 rolling right now. And then once everybody sees how well it sells, that's when I'll get the praise and pat myself on the back and say, okay, let's go to 19-to-1 now.
It is. I myself like to use high CBD products. We have another question. What is RO water?
Oh, that's reverse osmosis. So it's a purification way of us making sure we have the best water put into our plants.
Got it. That's
Yeah.
the first time I ever heard that term as well.
Me too.
Yep. Yep. So I mean, there are so many different regulations, and you know, I wish I was a little bit more educated on the different changes that are proposed to happen over the next coming months. But I know there is a lot that we're trying to secure in Pennsylvania for these final regulations, and some of that will lean up a little bit on where we're allowed to get our genetics from, so we can get better products in to the patients. All of our grower processors only have 30-day window to grab genetics as soon as they start. So you can see for a company like Jushi coming in, purchasing a company that was already established and having their genetics that they chose and to go forward with. So that's where we're working with the Department of Health now to bring in different genetics, bring in different products. You know, edibles is still something that's not allowed on the market right now, but other options of that for the pediatrics, for the elderly are definitely something in consideration. And we're trying to do everything we can to broaden that out for the patients a little bit more.
Amber, are you allowed to reveal how many strains are in your strain library?
In our seed bank, pretty much?
Yeah.
I wouldn't even begin to know.
Okay.
That is an inventory thing. I keep completely out of that if I have to. I know we have quite a bit. I think when I was scurrying around there on MJ one of the days, I know there's a couple pages worth of seeds that we have. So we have a lot that are coming down, but to know where they purchased from and everything else, it's a little hard to make sure. We just don't want to have products that are potentially not going to yield high enough or anything that, you know, might be prone to yeast and mold. And the last thing that anybody wants is to have a lot of harvest fail. So that's what kind of where we're looking at doing more genetics and more opportunities for patients.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have any more questions?
Oh, Dr. Harris just did one.
Okay, awesome. Do you have an ion hailer in your national formulary? Any chance of bringing to PA? Inhaler, I'm sorry.
Yes, inhaler.
Do you have an inhaler in your formulary?
I'm like, what's the ion hailer?
I don't know what it is, but I want one. No, we don't have inhalers. I believe there were a couple GPs. I do talk to a lot of the sales managers of trying to get one of those products out, and I don't believe that was something that was ever allowed by the Department of Health. So we were trying to do a spray formulation at one point. Instead of an oral, it would just be like a mouth spray. And the Department of Health also knocked us down on that option too. So it's a hard to go kind of with the regulations, especially when you see other GPs that have those out. So when we were told we weren't able to, it was definitely a little frustrating, but we're working on it. We're working, like I said, a multitude of different products. Once our launch, or our reconstruction is completely done, we should be able to be in a better spot with new brands and new products. Most wise, I mean, like I said, I do have a slew of different types of products. If anybody doesn't know what kind of ancillary products are out there, I can go through a whole list of these. If you guys want your time back, go through that as well. I'm very honored to be able to sit here and talk to everyone and educate about what PAMS is putting out and what Jushi is looking forward to in the future.
Awesome, and we appreciate having you. And just so everybody on the call knows, this is being recorded, and we will, you know, you will be able to watch the replay of this if you have any questions. But we did get another question come through. Dr. Cindy, she has never seen a dry leaf vape. Could you demonstrate it? So that would be awesome.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, there's two things that I currently have. One is called an Herbie. It's this little guy right here. He's all warming up. So you take the top piece off of this, and inside, I don't know how well you can see or not, but it's just a little compartment. You can take, I always make sure with these, I use my grinder. So I take the dry leaf product that I have purchased from the store. I'll grind it up into something very nice and fresh and thin like that, so that I can easily put it into my vaporizer. And you can just put a little pinch in. Make sure it's packed down is a big thing too. For the Herbie vaporizer that I have, it really likes to be packed down to be able to fully get through it, but you don't want to pack it down to the point where it's cake, because then it can kind of block up sometimes. So I have him filled here just like that. And you can kind of, I don't know if you can really see on that or not, but I have the top off and it's starting to smoke just a little bit. It's starting to vaporize the whole inside of it. So steam's coming out of it. And then the inhalation is holding it in. Inhale, and then it's 2 seconds, and then you have your dosing. Is typically how those are used. The other option,
How often do you have to fill the Herbie? Because I noticed that with the I tried using a dry leaf vaporizer myself, and I've just noticed that it's like that first like puff is the magic one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I fill it up like about halfway, I pack it down, and then I take a longer inhalation, knowing like typically my 2 to 3 second inhalation of what I do is an average dose for me. So I kind of take maybe a 6 second, so that kind of vaporizes the whole thing through. Cause like you said, you get that one time and it's like a minute and that's it.
Yes.
The other option is something a little bit more complex, which you would have like this. So this is, going to be for concentrates or for dry leaf. You can put your concentrates, same thing, put water in the bottom of this. It makes it a little bit easier to inhale as well. But then you put the vapor or the product right in the bottom of this. And I have a heat element here, which is electric. So there is no combustion. This is something that is allowed by the state. And you put this just on the top, so it actually vaporizes the whole entire product on the inside, and then you can inhale through the top. You can also use that product for concentrates. I prefer using the G-Pen Rome for concentrates, just because it is much easier than this bad boy all around. I also have a 6-year-old son, and we just don't want children and youth or anybody coming to my house because it looks like crazy stuff, even though it's medicine. That's always another.
What was that second one called, Amber?
This is
the one that looks like a bong.
yeah, pretty much. This is for Mobius.
Okay.
This is like really old school. I had this out when I lived in Las Vegas. Had this when I was in Colorado. So this has been traveling with me for years now.
So is this something that patients can find in a dispensary? Is that more something they would buy online?
This is something they buy online or maybe in a tobacco shop. They do have products like this. I only like this one, like I said, for the reason of having an element like this that I can just have this heated up. It hooks into this little pack here. And this pack you plug into it and I can control the temperature and everything else right on the front of it.
And how much does something like that cost? Just so, just out of curiosity.
This is a rather expensive rig. This was, I think, everything and the case and everything said and done, probably closer to $600.
Wow.
But again, I can use this to do
for concentrates. Yeah.
For concentrates as well as using it for flour. So that's kind of why I like those. I've really been big on the vape pens lately, just because it's easy to conceal. I know my dosing on it. I can change the temperature on all of our lab batteries, which we are releasing soon, guys. So you guys should be seeing them in the stores. But these are lab batteries. So they're really pretty, kind of goes along with our same theme. They are 5 clicks on, 2 clicks for preheat and 3 clicks for heat change. It has a 3 heat change as well. So these are really the easiest, is just having the vape battery, just be able to have a charge and screw right on, and away I go. There's, so many other options when it comes to the vape batteries for the cartridges. The MIG Vapor is also another one that I really liked of this, because when you inhale on this one, it will actually show you how many puffs you took and how long of the inhalation. So I really like this one because I was able to keep track of one card. As long as I didn't pull it out, it would reset it. But this one was a really nice one to have. So like I said, I have a slew of stuff. I have way too much stuff than what I should, but it helps me explain it to the patients better. If they say, oh, look, I have a palm, why isn't it working? I'm like, well, you got to make sure you have your little bottom piece. Cause if I didn't have this, I would never know that a palm needs to have that magnetic thing on the bottom. Same thing with the silo and any other vape pens. Like I like being able to use them and know the difference. Like I said, my G-Pen Rome has been my go-to for my concentrates lately because it's so easy. And it's not something that I'm gonna lose like my vape pens like I typically do. I also did want to show you guys as well as the soft gels. So this is what the soft gels look like. They're about the size of a dime, and they should be like a yellowish amber color. And that's what a full one with cannabinoids and MCT oil looks like.
Now, I know that once I'm asking for the doctors, can you cut those in half and take half now, half later?
No, you cannot cut those in half. They are meant for one dose just as they are, because they do have that gelatin on the outside and then the full oil on the inside. And just to show as well for our oral solutions, this is what our dropper looks like. Again, this has the graduated lines on it, so you can have your 0.25, your 0.5, your 0.75, and your 1 milliliter, all in one bottle of the NeuroPlus.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like we have any more questions, but this was a fantastic presentation. I enjoy these presentations because I learn something every time as well. So thank you so much, Amber. Do you have any more questions, Franmar?
No, Dr. Cindy just popped one in that she has patients who freeze their capsules and cut them. I know some of the other GPs you can do that. The capsules that are on the market that look like an amoxicillin capsule, you can freeze and cut, but I don't think these, Amber, yours you can freeze and cut, correct?
No, I believe most of those are like RSO that are filled in those capsules. So you're probably going to have an easier time of the viscosity that's a lot thicker. So they probably will freeze a little bit easier than what our soft gels will. One of the things that we are looking to come down the line, which we're waiting for Department of Health approval, is something similar to Grassroots. They have the 0.25 press tablets. So we were looking to do those products, again, a microdose, 0.25 of each one of THC, but we're hoping that we can do them chewable and flavored, so that children will be able to use them, elderly will be able to use them, myself included. I will not argue at all that I will not mind to have a 0.2 or a 2.5 3-4 times throughout the day and have it taste good too and not taste like cannabis. So definitely hoping that gets approved. We should hear back from the Department of Health really soon. Our pill press and everything's already there, and we're just waiting for an okay to go. So if those come down the line, that might be something that will be out this summer, but still waiting on Department of Health regulatory approval.
Interesting. Aren't we all always waiting on the Department?
Always. It never ends.
Well, they approved this program, which was fantastic.
That is.
So yes, awesome. Let me just double check to see if we have any last minute questions before we let everybody go. No, but thank you. Again, this will be recorded, and we haven't put the last one on the website yet, but I would say this week, the first recording, and then this recording will be added next week, and we'll send out the link, with those recordings, and then the links for the rest of the 7 weeks of the training. So thank you everybody for joining us. Thank you again, Amber. Thank you, Franmar, for putting this together, and we'll let everybody have 20 minutes back.
Thank you guys so much. Great night.
Thank you. Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.